Hello everyone! In this video of a quick tech minute, I'm going to go over a little simple guide on how to install Synology or XPE Synology on an Isilon storage server. These things were made quite a while back, but they still work really well even if you don't have the licenses and stuff. I picked up a IQ 12000X storage server the other day, and I decided I was going to put XP Synology on it. I have a Synology system, and it works very well, but it is very limited in the amount of RAM it has, and it was only a 2 or a 1 bay unit, and I wanted it a little bit more storage. There's a few caveats, whatever you want to say, to it. The Isilon storage server RAID card that's in it already is limited to 2 terabytes in each drive, but the internal motherboard has a multitude of SATA connectors, but only 4 seem to be working. I don't know if it's the specific BIOS I put on it. I did have to reflash the BIOS, but mine was just having some faults of its own, and I don't think every unit's like that. There's a ton of these storage servers out there. Mine came with 4 gigabytes of RAM, which seems to be plenty. The unit does, like I was going back to saying, that the motherboard does have the 4 SATA ports that are usable, so you can just remap those, because it uses regular SATA cables inside to go to the RAID card, not any special connectors. And you can take those and connect 4 of the drives to the motherboards, which supports at least 5 terabytes. I'm guessing it can go well above that if you have a larger drive. So if you want to put 4 or 5 terabyte drives in there and the rest of them 2 terabytes, you're all set. I mean, it's 12 bays, so you got quite a lot of room, and I'm sure you can upgrade the RAID card. At this moment in time, I do not need to. The unit I purchased came with 1 terabyte drives in it, and right now it's keeping up enough storage. I have it in RAID 5, and I don't need too much redundancy, but it is nice having that much area. Alright, now on to actually installing it. It's very, very simple. At least I thought it was. You can take, this is the website you go to, download.xpsynology.fr. I'm not sure how long this website's going to be up for, but it works very well. I'm not going to go through how to install an image file onto a USB flash drive. I'm sure there's plenty of other YouTube videos and guides on how to do that, but there's actually 4 different, I don't know what a pat's for, but 4 different options to download it. I would just go with the top one here. It's got the newest one on it. You can do the image for the flash drive, ISO if you want a CD, or VMDK. It does run in ESXi or any other VMware products, and that works fairly well as well. I've tried that as well, and it works good, but I did want a dedicated system with the 12 bays so that I could swap out the hard drives fairly easily. I did want to say that the Isilon system does start very quickly. I think it's up and running probably, I mean, after post and everything, that takes about 40 seconds, and I'd say maybe another minute to get the whole system up and running again. And for a full-fledged server, I think that's fairly good. It does have the redundant power supplies, which is beneficial. The 2 gigabit Ethernet ports, I'm sure a lot of people are looking for the 10 gigabit Ethernet now, and that's just not a requirement that I need. And the Synology units that are on the lower end do not require that either. And I know you can acquire one of these servers without the drives for probably $200 or so, which is pretty dang cheap for a Synology system. And they do have the BBU units in them, 2 of them, which is also very beneficial to a RAID system. Anyway, back to this. Basically, once you get on a flash drive or a disk, you put it into the server you want to use. I use a flash drive because you got to keep it in there. And make sure you have your hard drives in there and all set. And it is going to erase all of the hard drives, so remember that. Basically put it in and let it boot. It's going to boot up just like anything else would, any other live CD. Just let it do its stuff. Then it's going to take you to the Synology web assistant. I already went through that setup, so I'm not going to go through it again. But it basically asks what you want to name the thing, password, username, and you can just kind of go right through that. I know some of the guides kind of talk about saying, well, you got to use this special DSM file for it and all that weird stuff, but it does work well. You don't have to use a special file. You just keep going through and it'll download it from the internet. It works fine. Maybe it's included with the installer here. I'm not 100% sure. But it does work very well. And once you're done with that, I will show you what it'll bring you to the Synology the Synology Disk Station login page. And I'm going to go past that, and then we'll catch up with you here in a second. Alright, so this is the Disk Station login page. You can see the IP address of mine as well. It is the 19th. It's a Monday. It's at 10:34 a.m. Time setup's fairly easy. I'll probably go through that as well. I have not tried updating mine yet, but I did have other unit I was doing this on, the 3 bays, and it did update fine. I will go through that later too. But yeah, once you get to here, log in, and then we'll get going from there. Alright, when you first log in, it might go a little berserk about not having all your volumes set up. So what you do is you go to Main Menu, and where am I going? Storage Manager, and click on that. And it's going to list, I already got my 2 volumes set up here. But you can go to this page, and you can create a volume, remove volume, manage volume. If there's any faults in a volume, it will kind of let you know about that. This is the 1 terabyte disk that I have. And yeah, you just kind of set up the volume you want it. Like I said, I have RAID 5. And set up your volume. It's very easy. There's a simple guide and an expert guide. Just kind of go through that, and it works really well. See this quick in the custom. I'm not going to go through it. It also talks about the hard disk drives. Now, here's the thing. It'll tell you the model number, but that's it. Anything that's connected to the RAID card. As for things that are directly connected to the motherboard, everything will show up. And that probably should not be there. Well, don't worry about that. And then you can kind of go through all these other things. Hot spare is important if you're doing RAID, and it does support that if you want to have a spare drive sitting around. And the SSD cache, I found that I didn't need to use this because I was maxing out my gigabit connection. Maybe if you're hitting it harder or faster connection, you might have to worry about this, but I do not. My drives are not being limited at all. You also might, like I said, get this page. I did update, and it kept all the settings, which was great news, which made me happy because then nothing broke. So yes, I did update to the newest one, and I didn't lose anything. As for time, I know that's going to might get a little bit confusing to people. You go to regional settings and change what you need to change. That's it. I'd probably change it to time or pool that any of these would work. Just make sure you change it to that and the correct time zone and click to update now. You change language, you go to language. It's fairly easy. I think that's kind of the way they make Synology, is to make it easy, and it works. That's kind of the reason I like it, is because it just works. I tried FreeNAS before, and it was just very unstable on the systems I tried it on, and a little bit more complicated than I felt like it needed to be. There's a huge community out there for Synology in packages. I think right now I have the Unify package on here, the Plex package on here, and the Java Manager for the Unify controller. And there's a lot of packages out there and a lot of repositories, and you just go to settings and package sources, and you can add them. This is where I got the Unify one from, and I really appreciate the person who made this because it's very easy to use. You just install it quick. If you guys want a guide on that, I guess I can go through that and show how to set up the Unify controller on this. Unfortunately, Unify Video is a whole other beast, and I will not be installing that on here at this moment in time. I do use Unify access points. But yeah, there's a bunch of other packages on here. I mean, that just come with it itself, and they all work very well because it is a quad-core system. The RAM is really good. I mean, I'm using 21%, and that's with Plex and all that other stuff. Our Unify controller uses RAM out the wazoo, so it's still doing pretty good. But yeah, it's very stable. Doesn't eat RAM like other operating systems I've found. FreeNAS. That one just seems to eat RAM, and I'm just not quite sure what to do with it after it does that. I kind of gave up. It eats too much RAM. And people are like, well, you need this much RAM to make this stable. And I'm like, well, I have this running right now at 14 terabytes, and I'm using 21% of 4 gigs with Synology. It works. It makes me happy. I've tried pushing it, again, with the Gigabit Ethernet, and it works well for that. If you do want to go to any networking settings, that's again in the control panel, and then you go to network, and it kind of talks about all of the information here. You can go to your network interfaces. The one thing I did find is I had to unplug and plug back in the LAN 1 for the gigabit to show up. After I booted it a couple times, it didn't seem to have that issue anymore. I'm not quite sure what that was all about. Another cool thing is Synology does support wireless devices, so you can, it kind of lets you choose what you want to set up here. Security is good. I just find Synology way easier to use, and it has a lot more features. I keep saying Synology, but obviously this is Xpianology because it's not an official system. It does kind of show up as one in the system details, but that's just kind of the way they rigged everything up. I guess this was a fairly quick guide on how to do it. If you want a more detailed guide or you have any questions, just let me know. But it is a lot more straightforward than I thought it would be, and it just works. Like I said, it will wipe the drives. It might take up a little bit of space for the operating system itself, the destination operating system. But other than that, it's fairly simple. And thank you for watching a Quick Tech Minute, and you have a great day.